Now, shares in American Eagle are soaring in after-hours trading on its latest results. The company raised its sales outlook for the current quarter, sending shares, get this, more than 20% higher. It says same-store sales will be flat compared to a year ago, defying estimates of a slowdown. CEO Jay Schottenstein touted American Eagle's marketing strategy, including this ad with Sydney Sweeney that sparked the controversy.
Sydney Sweeney has very keens.
Hitha Herzog is the Chief Research Officer of H Squared, and H Squared Research, and she joins us now. Okay, did the success of this campaign surprise you? And I'm wondering, what does it say about retail branding more generally right now?
I think we're seeing a real shift in the way that retailers and fashion brands are branding themselves. And we started seeing that a little bit prior to the pandemic, and now it's really coming full force. And it's really taking a cue of what they're seeing culturally, which is this real opposite extreme of attitude, whether it's very polarizing. And we saw this with the Sydney Sweeney ad, even though they claim that they didn't mean to make it polarizing. We just saw this sort of, just crowd around, the community kind of rallying around a certain sort of take. And then we saw ads coming out from Gap that almost took the opposite end of the spectrum. But as the CEO was saying, this was extremely successful. We saw an EPS beat. They certainly got new customers coming in. And as we all know, this launched prior to the back to school season. And so the jeans are selling out, and even the Sydney Sweeney branded jeans, those are selling out as well. So if it's any indication, this campaign was very successful for the brand.
Very successful, and like you said, leaning in really to those cultural crosswinds. They have apparently now signed Travis Kelce. It doesn't get much bigger than that, but also perhaps polarizing because of his fiancée, Taylor Swift. So when you say that there has been a shift, especially when you have a retailer like you mentioned Gap as well, but then we saw the backfire right on Target in the last year or two as well. To me, this just seems like a minefield. Do we not go back to conventional wisdom and say you have to stay away from this?
You would think, but as we've seen it play out in the political sphere, we are really, everyone is, brands especially, are really responding to this polarization. It's all about the way that communities are built and driven. And as we are seeing, brands are really relying on the communities that they associate themselves with. Now, where does that line become, where is it drawn? As we saw with Target, they were in a specific camp, and they did, they did what they thought was correct. They merchandised in that instance according to what they thought their customer base was going to buy. In that instance, they realized that in their stores that were in the southern states and other places in the United States, that customer base was not responding correctly. But in this case, American Eagle Outfitters realized that their customer base maybe didn't want to necessarily become so polarizing, I guess, in the sense of where they wanted to be more. I don't want to misspeak, but they wanted to just kind of focus on a beautiful actress who really resonates with their community and their ways of living.
It is so difficult to really understand, kind of when and how a brand takes off or in this case, resurrects. I really want to try and get your insight on the broader retail market. It is very difficult to understand right now and navigate, obviously, for retailers. We've got this specter of the tariffs. We also have brands that are normally in malls, really having a hard time. Where do you see things going as we get, leading up to the holiday season?
Well, I noted the pandemic and how we saw everything change post-pandemic. And I think what we're seeing, especially brands that had anchor stores in malls, is really change their strategy because the consumer is changing the way that they spend. It's not to say that people aren't going into malls, they are, but the mall sphere is going to look very different than what it looked like when I was hanging out there in the 80s. So now we're going to start seeing other sort of entertainment venues and people going there for lunches and dinners and more of an entertainment entertainment based as opposed to going there for shopping. That's not to say that retail is dead, that stores are going to go away. It's just a shift in the way that that retailers are putting out their merchandise and responding again to the way that the consumer wants to spend. And let's be honest, we're talking about holiday and Black Friday. Do we really want to be driving around on Black Friday at 10 o'clock at night looking at stuff? I certainly don't. I've been there before, covering, buying. It's you just want to be home shopping on your computer. And I think retailers know that.
Yeah, and Heath, I was right at that mall with you. And no longer, I agree.
We were there together.
Hitha Herzog, good to see you. Thanks so much.